Motorcycles were used by the armies around the globe since the First World War, but their history is usually neglected. Most of the time, the rumbling tanks and sleek fighter planes steal the spotlight. Even though they were mostly overshadowed by other vehicles, if people think about World War II, one of the pictures that jumps into mind is a German soldier on his motorcycle. No war movie can be complete without them. So today we will look at two of those, which along with their sidecar variants, were designed to meet the specific needs of the German military, providing reliable and versatile transportation across the battlefields. These were the Zundapp KS 750 and the BMW R75. The use of the motorcycle by the armies was not new by the time the Second World War broke out. As we mentioned, these vehicles were already used in the First World War, mostly as dispatch riders and mail delivery units, which was an optimal role for the light, small and nimble motorcycle. But until World War II, they were not really considered to be used in big numbers or as fighting units. But as technology progressed and the idea of a fast-moving motorized force started to become reality, the motorcycle found a new role as well. Though most armies utilized the motorcycle during World War II, the most prominent user of them was the German Wehrmacht. The motorcycles, on top of their already known roles, fit the idea of the German Blitzkrieg very well, as fast-moving scouts in front of the quickly advancing armored divisions. During the 1930s, the German army already used many different types of motorcycles for different roles, like reconnaissance, deliver messages, or just as transports. But these were mainly just variants of civilian types, and not purpose-built military vehicles. To mention a few, the BMW R11 and R12 were reliable and robust designs, just like the Zundapp KS 600 and the heavy KS 800. But smaller, lighter designs were also used, like the DKW RT 125 and the NSU 251. But these are just the tip of the iceberg, as the German army used more than 20 different types of motorcycles during World War II. The main problem with these types was that they were designed for road use and not as off-road machines. Not having enough ground clearance and traction, by using a heavy sidecar, they were not suitable for snow, mud or heavy off-road use. They were fine for messenger and policing roles as in the past, but not suitable for the new roles envisioned for them. But this was about to change at the end of the decade, as Germany was gearing up for war. In 1937, the Army High Command distributed specifications for new motorcycles for the army. They asked for the ability to carry 500 kilograms of payload or 3 fully equipped soldiers, have 95 km an hour top speed, and be able to sustain 80 km an hour on paved roads. A minimum speed of 4 km an hour was also set, so the motorcycles can follow the marching troops. The specifications also asked for at least 150 mm ground clearance and the use of 4.5 by 16-inch off-road tires. Another criteria was the ability to use snow chains, as the motorcycles were planned to be used in every climate and every season. BMW and Zundapp both decided to enter designs for the specifications. Zundapp initially considered a modification of their former KS 600 design. But this was soon dropped, as they realized a completely new design is needed to meet the specifications. The new KS 750 featured a strong pressed steel frame, a flat twin engine, initially with the capacity of 700 cc, which was in 1939 increased to 750 cc, and a drive system which distributed the power between the rear wheel and the sidecar's wheel. With two-wheel drive, the motorcycle became a much better off-roader than the traditional rear-wheel drive ones. BMW also entered a new design, the R75, which, following the strict specifications, was quite similar to the Zundapp design. It also featured a flat-twin 750cc engine. The initial plans were to use the existing R71 engine, but then BMW quickly decided they will design a completely new overhead valve units for this bike. The frame of the BMW design was different from the Zundapp one, in a manner that it was made up from separate pieces bolted together, which in theory made repairs easier. The new designs also had many small features that the soldiers later appreciated a lot, like the hand and foot warmers, and some sidecars were heated too. The Army High Command put the new designs through rigorous testing, with long drives in different conditions. Their conclusion was that the Zundapp KS 750 was superior to the BMW design, though its cost was fairly high. Nonetheless, both designs were accepted to service, and their production started in 1941. And the first new motorcycles started to arrive to the units the same year. And not a moment too soon, as the German troops soon experienced the harsh Soviet winter just a few months into Operation Barbarossa. The army asked BMW to manufacture the Zundapp design under contract, but the company refused that. They agreed, however, to incorporate the parts on their motorcycle which were deemed superior, namely the hydraulic brakes and the rear-wheel drive system. In August 1942, the army asked the two companies to try to standardize parts, which eventually led to a hybrid design. They reached an agreement that BMW will stop making the R75 when they reach 20,000 units, and after that both companies will manufacture the standardized machine. This amount was never reached in the end, as the BMW factory at Eisenach was bombed. They did, however, manage to standardize about 3/4 of the parts, which greatly helped delivering supplies to the troops. The Zundapp design had a length of 2,385 mm and a width of 1,650 mm with the sidecar, and it weighed 405 kg. For good off-road capabilities, it had a ground clearance of 160 mm and used 4.5 by 16-inch off-road tires. The motorcycle used a 751cc flat-twin engine, producing 26 horsepower. It had a top speed of 95 km an hour and a range of 375 km. The BMW design was quite similar to the Zundapp one, with a length of 2,398 mm and a width of 1,730 mm with the sidecar. It weighed 420 kg. It had a ground clearance of 150 mm and used the same 4.5 by 16-inch tires as requested in the initial specifications. The engine was a 746cc flat-twin, producing 26 horsepower. The BMW R75 had a top speed of 93 km an hour and a range of 346 km. Though both engines were flat-twin designs, the BMW was a 180-degree design, while Zundapp opted to raise both cylinders 5 degrees to increase ground clearance, ending up with a 170-degree engine. Both the Zundapp and the BMW motorcycles entered service in 1941, and they saw heavy use in every theater of the war, from the Eastern Front to North Africa. Most German motorized divisions had a motorcycle battalion, but not only the motorized divisions included these units. Some were attached to infantry or grenadier divisions. These motorcycle troops were known as Kraftschützen, and they were highly mobile, lightly armed units. They were deployed for many different roles, but maybe their most frequent use was for reconnaissance or as an advance guard for the main forces. Though equipped with machine guns on usually at least one of the sidecars, they were not expected to get into heavy fighting, as both the driver and the passenger was vulnerable to small arms fire. They could be used as fast response units, and the sidecars fitted with the MG-34 machine gun could lay down fire support for the infantry, but they were not expected to engage heavier enemy units. On the Eastern Front they were used in great numbers, and they were successful at first during the dry months, but as soon as autumn and winter arrived they became basically useless, as they got stuck or broke down in the deep mud and snow. They were more successful in North Africa, using their modified machines, again for reconnaissance or as quick response units. They were used until the end of the war, though in decreasing numbers, as after 1942 the light reconnaissance units were gradually switched over to the cheaply manufactured off-road cars, the Kubelwagen and its amphibious sibling the Schwimmwagen, which were more versatile, offered almost the same mobility, but increased carrying capacity and protection. I have already made a video about those two vehicles, so if you're interested in their history, check it out. Over 18,000 Zundapp KS 750 motorcycles were produced between 1941 and 1944, and the BMW R75 also had significant production numbers, with around 16,500 units built, with both models contributing to the mobility and flexibility of the German army. The success of the German motorcycles prompted a response from the Allied side as well. Though the US Army already used the Harley-Davidson WLA model, the Allies acknowledged the good design and reliability of the German motorcycles they encountered. Especially the maintenance-free driveshaft and the rugged boxer engine, which had better cooling in hot places like North Africa than the V-twin in the Harley bikes. So Harley-Davidson essentially reverse-engineered a BMW R71 model and came up with the XA design, featuring a flat-twin engine which ran much cooler and also featured a driveshaft instead of the chain drive. 1,000 pre-production units were built from this model, but by the time production would have begun, it became clear the Jeep will be the general-purpose vehicle of the army, and it was decided for the roads where motorcycles were needed, the existing models will be sufficient. A big part in this decision came down to the price of the XA model, which at $870 cost about the same as the price of a Jeep, and was almost twice as expensive as the former Harley models. In the Soviet Union, they also started manufacturing a copy of the BMW R71 model. Before the two countries became enemies, BMW actually supplied the R71 for the Soviets, and the joint manufacturing venture was planned. In 1941, the IMZ Ural factory was built, which started manufacturing the M72 model, basically a copy of the BMW design. These rugged motorcycles were in production in the Soviet Union until 1960, and the improved versions are still in production today. The Chinese also started manufacturing copies of these motorcycles in 1957, after they acquired some Soviet machines. It is still in production in China today, and have been produced in millions of units. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please leave a like, subscribe to my channel, and in the comments let me know if there's any interesting events or vehicles you'd like to see.